Welcome to my tutorial for Ganryu 2 for the Series X. And this game took me around 15 hours, 48 minutes to beat. I took a 4-year break from the game in 2022, so I probably lost a few hours as far as I probably would have beaten it a few hours sooner because I forgot everything I practiced for Stage 4. I actually quit the game on Stage 4 because the control, can be super fucking glitchy, and, I realized the falling rock section was only like 2 or 3 minutes of a 20-minute stage. And, after seeing some videos, it's like, I don't even fucking feel like dealing with this shit with the glitchy control. But I just put it in my backlog for several years, and I was thinking about it. I did like the core game. It was just some of the glitches and shit made the game pretty bullshitty. But, I approached it with a different attitude when I came back to it, that it was going to be kind of a difficult game and it's going to take some hours to learn the stages. So, Acts 4 and 5, the two final acts, are the hardest part of the game. So, that's really what the tutorial is mainly going to cover. The other stages can be challenging, definitely, but the game didn't really have a huge difficulty spike into the last two stages. And I would say Act 4 is the hardest stage-wise, but Act 5 took me the longest because every time you die on the final boss, you got to redo the entire act, which takes like 20 minutes when you're not dying on the stage and you know it. So the fucking acts are really long. So for this first act, each act consists of two very long stages, and there's 5 acts. So it starts off pretty normal for these type of games. You get a pretty good supply of health items and shit like that. I had to rewatch the video of my playthrough of the first 3 acts because it's been like 4 years since I played the game. So I just rewatched it. So I should have a little bit more idea of what the fuck is going on when I watch my playthrough, because I don't really remember the details of the game. Aside from Acts 4 and 5, which I just beat recently, that's all I really actually remember. So I refreshed my memory a little bit by watching the playthrough, but I still didn't really remember the specifics. So I'm just going off of what I'm analyzing here, what I'm seeing in the playthrough. But yeah, the game, it's a Shinobi 3 clone kind of game pretty much for Genesis. Like if you've played Shinobi 3 for Genesis, like this game really imitates it. And I would say this is a much better game than Shinobi 3, and that's a great fucking game. The core game, I think, is much better than Shinobi 3. The pacing of the action, the movesets, the control is tighter. I think, it has a lot going for it. I would say the game would probably be like an 8 or a 9 if it wasn't for the control glitches that they never fixed. So, you could apply this information from probably all versions of the game. Will probably, these strategies will work. But I don't know if some versions are glitchier than others. I just played on Series X. I tried it briefly on Switch, and it seemed to be the same thing, pretty much. But I, only sampled it for like 10 minutes. So, I'm sure it has the same glitches from what I've read anyway. So you have your shurikens, which are limited, and you collect those as ammo pickups, which are really good to take out, distant enemies, because, the majority, most of the enemies in the game only take a single hit to defeat, either by shuriken or sword. So, there are checkpoints in the stages, as you'll see me respawn at one here. You have your sword, you have your shuriken attacks, which are multi-directional, which I don't know if I realized you could shoot shurikens diagonally and up. So keep that in mind. I don't know if I even realized that early on. You got some health pickups like that, so you can get some of your health back. And there's also a magic bar that you fill up by collecting these blue flames. And once you fill that up to max, you can use your magic. I almost always use the healing magic because I find it more useful to get my health back. But there are, I think there's offensive magics that will do damage, which are good for like bosses probably and shit like that. But I'd rather get my health back most of the time and just fight the boss. And, I could probably get more damage doing that than using like a powerful magic attack. So here I'm doing some exploring. This is very early. This is when I first started playing the game. So I think in this part, I may still be like learning the stage at this point. I don't even know if this stage was one that I had to redo or practice. I don't know what my completion times were on the first 3 acts since I did them so long ago. I'm not sure how long they took me to beat. I know that Acts 4 and 5 took really long. I think the final act took me like 6 hours to beat, and I think Act 4 took me like maybe 4 hours or something like that. But some of that time was of course, it might have been like 2 hours. Recently 2 or 3 hours, because some of that time was from my past 4 years ago, where of course I don't remember anything I practiced back then, so that's why the time might be a little high on that. But either way, expect to spend several hours practicing acts 4 and 5 before you're able to get them down, because you need to know where all the spawns are. You need to know exactly how to move and where to be. You have to like route the whole stage. Otherwise, if you don't have like the route really well understood and known, then you're going to probably die a lot. So it's really it's more of a memorization thing than Twitch skill. It is good to have fast reflexes, but for those stages, you can't really rely on that, because there's enemies that spawn out of thin air and stuff like that, and there's certain things that will kill you most likely the first time you get to them. You need to know like what you actually have to do. So that's the biggest thing for this game, just like a lot of these old games. But in this game, it gets tough because, this game is like an endurance, because the stages can be like 20 minutes long. So you start with only 3 lives. So, you have a 20-minute long stage with 3 lives, and, you may get a few 1-ups. You can only get 1-ups by picking them up in the environment, like finding them in the walls and shit, stuff like that. But you don't get them by points. So here I switch to that ladder-looking icon, which is my healing magic. So this boss is actually really easy to dodge and fight normally. You just jump his shurikens and duck when he fires them high and just slice at him. So you don't have to play sloppy like this, but I was just like, tanking it basically, just for the fuck of it. Just a lot of times I will do shit like that when I can get away with it. But you don't have to do that. This may have been my first time fighting the boss, and I wasn't really concerned. I figured I had my healing magic, so I was just decided to just do it that way. But if you want to fight him properly, you can actually jump and duck the shurikens and just hit him. It's actually really easy. When I played it again on Switch, I fought that boss again, and the first time I played it, it was very easy. So there's a lot of stuff that gives you points, which is completely fucking worthless unless you're playing for score. So this can be a little tricky. You're going to want to be aware and switch to the next cart whenever it becomes available. Otherwise, you'll fall to your death. The game does have infinite continues, and saves. It also saves your progress, but you're always going to have to start at the beginning of the last act you got to. So when you beat a stage within an act, there's 2 stages in each act. When you beat one, that's not an actual save point. You have to beat both stages in the act to clear the act. So that's why it can be so difficult on only a few lives. You really have to know the stages. So this completion was a little bit tight, I think, with this minecart section, but I wouldn't say that this part is like too difficult. I could have used my shurikens a lot more. I think I do die here. The way I edited this is to cut it down, because otherwise my other playthrough that I have up is over 2 hours and 17 minutes long, I believe, and that shows all my successful sets of lives on each act, not counting continues where I didn't make any new progress, but all the successful runs to make progress into the stage. But sometimes that would drag on, because I would keep getting a 1-up and dying on the same checkpoint again and again, because some checkpoints have a 1-up that you can just keep getting every time you die, and you can just keep going at it. So, and then some bosses took me like 6 lives to beat, on the successful run and shit like that. So I cut all that back. So I just show the first death at each new checkpoint. So I will show the first time I died at each new checkpoint. But then you'll see my lives counter may go down a few, because then I edit down to the successful life where I actually beat the next checkpoint, got to the next section. And then for the bosses, I edited so that I don't show any deaths on the bosses. So just to cut back on redundancy for a tutorial, because it doesn't really help in explaining the game, or what I did to actually succeed. So yes, now I'm finally using the shurikens. I was being kind of fucking stubborn with that, just using the sword for a while, but now I'm using the throwing stars. It's still down to the last piece of life, though. It's it's still tricky. I'm assuming this part didn't take me super long to get good enough to actually beat it. It's not like I mastered it or anything. I would say for Acts 4 and 5, I pretty much mastered them. As far as being able to beat them without dying. I would have a death here and there on Acts 4 and 5, but that includes all 4 stages in those 2 acts, and I might die occasionally, but I can beat them. I can beat them deathless. I know the stages well enough to actually beat them deathless, whether I do it or not. I think I may have had a few deaths, in this playthrough on those acts, but most of my deaths came from the boss, I believe, of Act 4, because I died like 6 times on that, because I didn't really have a lot of practice on the actual boss of the stage. But the stage itself, I pretty much had it mastered. The difficulty's not really going to spike. I mean, from what I remember, it doesn't really spike until Act 4. That's where I started having problems. And then I said, fuck it. I was just fed up with it because... for one thing, I felt like the stages can be too fucking long. You know what I mean? I mean, I can learn them, but it's just like I would have liked it to be. Maybe the stages could have been, how there's like 2 stages in each act. Maybe like that could have been the whole fucking act, or so. You know what I mean? Or the stages just could have been divided normally. You know what I mean? But they're like, probably about 3 or 4 times as long as they should be. I don't know. They're pretty long. So, I mean, it does affect the pacing because you're going to be replaying the same stages a lot to learn everything. So, it's, But, I mean, I don't have a huge problem with that. I wouldn't really give the game a worse score if I reviewed it because of that. But what I would knock it down for, if I do review this game, I'll probably give it like a 7 just because the jumping glitch is insane. It's so shitty. I mean, like, otherwise this game might be an 8 or a 9. It's better than Shinobi 3. I mean, it's really good. Of course, the music isn't as good as Shinobi 3, but the actual gameplay is fucking great. Another issue I have, though, is the wall jumping can feel really inconsistent, like really fucking inconsistent. Like, you would think you had it, and it's like, you see me fall from walls a lot. And I just couldn't get it to latch on consistently. Later on, I found the best way to get more consistent wall jumps is just to mash the jump button super fast and hope that it catches onto the wall. But... you're going to see later on that I do a wall jump where I wall jump against the same wall and climb it. That's essential for skipping this one part in Act 4, which I recommend learning how to do that because it'll make things a lot more manageable. It's a real bullshitty part. It's really shittily designed. It's just shitty. What makes it shittier is that the wall jump control kind of sucks. So when you combine that with the fact that the jump button will just stop working often because of the glitch, it makes it really fucking shitty. It's just a bad combination. Now, you could probably go in there and get whatever items are in there, but I said fuck it. It was a little bit dangerous. But, yeah, the way the jumping glitch works is that if you land from a dash sometimes you'll land and then your jump button just stops fucking working. If you want your jump button to work again, you got to either get hit or you got to dash to reset it and make the jump button work again. So if that happens to you, that's how you fix it. But when it keeps happening literally every 2 or 3 seconds on some parts, it's like, that's a fucking shitty game design. I mean, I got to knock points off for that fucking bullshit. Because, I mean, that's not even a skill issue at that point. That's just fucking bullshit design. It's just like unfinished type of shit. So, I mean, for that reason, I found it made the game a lot shittier. Luckily, it doesn't happen to me as often on most of the other stages except for Act 4, so I didn't have to deal with it as consistently later on. But you're going to see me fuck up some wall jumps and stuff and have to work around it later, which you'll see how I work around the issue. But I had to not use the air dash, which would have been nice to be able to use, but I had to not use an entire move just because it might shut off the jump button, which is that's not normally how you would play a game, so I'm not really a big fan of that shit. So now, after all that shit, that was just the first act. So you see that even the first act is long. All the acts are very long. but they get denser and more aggressive. So you're going to have to memorize a lot more enemy spawns and platforming and all kinds of shit later on. So I would say that Act 4 is going to be probably a brick wall for a lot of players where they might stop playing the game completely. So don't expect this to be, indicative of the final challenge of the game, because it's going to be much harder later on. So if you're all going to work on it, expect to spend some time really memorizing the last 2 acts. And the final boss is quite difficult. I mean, the second form takes me like 10 minutes to beat. I did do a slower, more tedious method, but even still, it's a very long second form. And the first form is tricky initially, too, until you learn the order of moves he's going to do, and you know exactly what to do. The first form of the final boss does do the same move sets in the same order every time, so you just practice, you'll learn it. But the timing windows are very tight on some of the attacks. So even if you know it, it can still be tricky. But the final boss forced me to replay Act 5 many times. That's why it took me like 6 hours, because I have to redo the entire act. And then it takes me maybe, since I learned Act 5 really well, it takes me maybe 20 minutes to get back to where I was each time. So getting back to the final boss takes like 20 minutes each time, and that's when you can beat Act 5 pretty much deathless. If not, you're going to get to the final boss probably with less lives than I got to him with. I would get to the final boss with 8 lives. Because I wouldn't really die, or I would get a 1-up to replenish if I did die. But if you're not doing that, you might get to the final boss with only 3 lives or something, and it might take you like an hour to get to the final boss, like it did for me initially while I was still learning Act 5. So as you get better at that act, you're going to get more tries in on the final boss, in a shorter period of time. You'll get there faster, and you'll get there with more lives. So you'll see where the 1-ups are. I'm going to show most of those. I think I might have missed one, but I'll explain where it is. But yeah, pretty much you pretty much want to have it down so you can get in a lot of attempts in a shorter period of time. Learn the act. You don't want to really be grinding Act 5 for like an hour and a half just to get to the final boss each time. Which can happen. I mean, there was times when it took me over an hour. Because you'd get 1-ups on certain sections, so you could die a lot on those sections and just keep getting the 1-up. So, you could keep the run going for a while. Also, since the second form takes like 10 minutes on the final boss, if I die midway in there, that wastes a lot of time too, every time you die on the boss, if you're getting far into it. This stage I don't think is anything too special difficulty-wise. I watched the video and it didn't really seem like anything special to me. Of course, I don't remember. But I do remember that I didn't really have any real trouble with the game until Act 4. I remember that's why I fucking shut the shit off. So, that much I do remember, because I was very fucking irritated. This game has a lot of enemy spawns throughout the whole game, so it's really about clearing shit out. The spawns, there's not unlimited spawning enemies, I don't think, at any point in the game, so when you do kill an enemy, it's gone forever. But there's a lot of them. So you can stay in a single area and clear out all the enemies usually if you want. Sometimes it's better to just rush through and know the stage so that you can go through fast and just like skip a bunch of shit. Which you'll see me do at parts of the game, maybe in the next act. But it depends how familiar you are with the stage too and how well you react to everything. But sometimes I would play it carefully because I wanted to pick up items and shit. I got a 1-up there, so that's actually good to get. I mean, and it looks like I may need it soon, the way I'm fucking playing this shit. But I think the checkpoint is close to this area. I think I do die in this area. I mean, that's what happens when you don't really know where the fuck you're going. But, trial and error. Eventually you will find the path, and you'll know what to kill, where to move. While you're playing games like this, you want to be really, route-oriented on how you think about the stages. So, see, there's the 1-up. Make sure you get that each time when you fail. But you really want to be like honed in on the route. So as you learn the stage, you really want to be thinking about it, not just going mindlessly through the stage. You want to think about, like what route you took that was successful, what enemies you killed, how you moved. Even if you're playing badly, you want to keep note of it because it got you to a certain point in the stage. Even if you were playing like shit, you still got somewhere in the stage. So you want to think how you can improve that. Maybe take less damage. Think about ways to improve each section of that route. And then you put it together, and through time, you can end up with a deathless route on the stages, like I did with some of the stuff on the later acts. But and had I played the game enough, I'm sure I could do a deathless run of the game. But I wouldn't want to do that. I mean, I like the game, but I don't like the fucking glitches, and I don't really usually spend the extra time to do deathless runs of old games. It is cool to do though. But my style is more high volume. Like I went through like close to 600 games, which are posted up on the channel in like a 12-month period pretty recently. So that's kind of what I specialize in. I just do a high volume of playthroughs. And I will do some extreme challenges and things on certain games that I really like, that I really feel like doing an extreme mode, because I like doing that shit. But I don't do it on everything. I do a lot of volume. A lot of it is, there's a lot of super easy games. There's a lot of moderate games, and there's definitely some super hard fucking games. It's just a mix of everything from very old emulation stuff, like NES, Super Nintendo and shit, to like even Atari 2600 to like modern shit, like first-person shooters and all this modern shit too. So it's just a whole mix. I like everything as long as it's good. And I've been around since the fucking 80s, so I've played everything extensively. So I have a pretty wide skill set through multiple genres. You know what I mean? There are some that I'm definitely not good at. Like I'm pretty fucking bad at like slower paced puzzle games where you got to figure out solutions in the environment and stuff like that. A lot of times I look that shit up and skip it, but for the most part, I'd say across most genres, I have a pretty good skill set, so I can go through a lot of games. And of course, with save state practice on the older games, you can put the games together super efficiently without having to replay the entire game every time you die. So that's what I do for really hard old games and shit. Of course, now with this game, I had to redo the entire 20-minute act or 1 hour act, depending how long it took me. I had to redo it each time because there was no way that I could use save states to practice the sections. So it's way less efficient, and of course, it just takes way longer. Thus, the nearly 16-hour time it took me to beat this game. Can't really do efficient practice without save states too easily. So that was stage one, the first stage of the act. There was nothing significant there. I mean, I don't really think there was anything worth explaining, so that's why I'm just kind of going on about some other details that I think are more important. So for this stage, this one's going to be drawn out, but I would say this stage is quite easy. I mean, to me, I thought it was, but it's a lot of platforming, so if that's a problem, then you may have some issues with it. But the thing is, when you fall down, you can always climb back up, and it's not super dangerous. As long as you clear out the enemies. For this part, you mainly want to stay crouched and just throw out some stars, because the enemies mostly shoot high, except for that asshole. But, for the most part, you can clear out most of the enemies doing that. What's good about this stage is that there are frequent health pickups. So you can kind of just inch your way through the stage, clear out the guys, and then move. So try to clear out what you can and then start platforming up the stage. And by doing that, fairly carefully, you got your healing magic, you got shit like that. You get pretty good healing items. So by playing it carefully, you can probably get through the stage pretty easily. If you take your time with it. I didn't see anything too challenging when I watched this again. Though I did fall back down a lot and shit like that. But, getting through it, I don't think is going to be too hard. But this footage is a little tedious because I kept falling down and shit. I still had a lot of trouble with the wall jumps at this point of the game. Latching onto the wall jump. I think I got better at it now, but I still have problems with it even after, mastering the hardest acts of the game. I still have issues with it. So yeah, you can dash across a lot of this shit. You're probably going to take some damage, but try to clear out what you can and just keep moving up. I still have a healing magic, so I mean I'm still in good shape. Now I got all my health back. For these guys, you just use your dash move, and it'll stun them, and then you can slice them. But I think if they're open and attacking you while you dash, I think you can one-hit kill them. But I think that's what happened. But if not, just dash into them and then just slash them once or twice, and they'll die. You don't want to try to like throw shit at them or slice at them because it doesn't do it. They'll just block it. Like I said, it's just a lot of enemy spawns and stuff, so that's one of the harder things about the game. Also, the knockback can be a bitch. You know, you get knocked back and you'll fall in pits on some of the stages, which is really, really fucking annoying, especially on Act 4. It also kind of just fucks up the controls. Like, if you were doing a move, it kind of just knocks you out of the move, too. Aside from just being a knockback. It seems to make the controls kind of lag, too. It's weird, but... See, and when you fall down, I mean, it's not super dangerous, but then you got to climb all the way back up again. So now I'm using my healing because I hit the spikes. So like I said, it's kind of tedious. This may have been one of the stages that I beat on my first time or something. I don't even remember. It doesn't seem like I really know the stage too well, so... I'm assuming I didn't have too much practice on it or too many failed attempts. But the footage I'm showing is just my successful segments. I didn't go back and redo anything and try to do better or anything like that. This is what I did. And I'm adding the comment, the comments are being added after the playthrough. I don't like talking while I'm playing a game. You can throw out some of these little shurikens to clear out some of the asshole enemies on the other side, because they are a fucking nuisance. But you'll see you get healing items like every few floors or whatever, so it's really pretty forgiving. As long as you're not taking tons of damage on spikes and shit like that on the platforming, it's not bad. You can just crouch and throw out some stars here, and most of the enemies won't really hit you if you kill them fast. A dash worked well there to clear out some of those assholes, but, pretty simple. Some more health. They give you a lot. You may actually have to wall jump up here, which is a little bit annoying. Yeah, pretty simple. These areas are a little bit more condensed, but it's pretty much the same shit. Just kill some more enemies. They're starting to throw more enemies, it seems, but I'm sure you could speed through this area much quicker by, knowing exactly how to move through. There are certain walls that you can break to get shit like that, where I got a 1-up. So, once you know where those are, keep those in mind, for your route through the stage, because, those 1-ups will help a lot. Especially on the bosses, because on the bosses you get a checkpoint. So, you can use up all your lives trying to beat the boss. You'll have to start at the beginning of the boss fight each time you die, but if you waste all your lives, then of course you got to start the entire act over, which is 2 stages. So, that's where it gets difficult. But bosses, it can be easy to die on some of the bosses a lot. These early bosses I thought were pretty damn easy overall, though. I mean, I could kind of bullshit my way through them. So this has a shooter stage. I think this is the only shooter stage in the game. You have a super beam when you fill up your magic bar. You don't have access to your healing magic and all that, but you do have a super beam. So get those blue flames and power that up, and then we can use that on the final phase of the boss for this stage. So the easiest way I think to do this part from watching the video was stay above or below these guys and let them just kind of come down into your shots. The ones that start shooting aggressively. I think you'll see that a little later. You kind of just let them, come up or down into your stream of fire, and it makes it easier to take them out. Than trying to face them head on, because they will shoot you if you're facing them directly. So just let them kind of come down into your shots. And then this is the boss. So this shooter stage is quite easy. There's a few tricky patterns to dodge on a boss fight, but like this can be tricky. But you can take a hit here and there, as long as you didn't take hits on the easy section with the enemies. So now I'm saving my super beam for the final phase of this fight, which is when the boss's health gets really low. He's going to go into his final phase. Could have dodged that by just knowing he was going to charge at me, but just be aware of it. For this, you just kind of move in circles, pretty fucking easy. Lure them around in circles. I think you can shoot them too. So now for this is a hard part to dodge. So this is where I use my super beam, and of course, using my super beam gives me invincibility. I get those iframes while the beam is active. So it makes it easy to take out the boss, since you're not going to take damage from that whole phase where he does that weird pattern. So you have a big hitbox, and your ship is pretty big, so it's kind of awkward to get in between the bullets. But if you use the super beam at the end of the fight, you can pretty much bypass that. So save it for the end. So now we're on, I believe it's, I guess they call them stages. I guess the acts are the actual stages inside the stage, or the acts, I guess. Maybe I was wording it wrong. I meant stages 4 and 5 are the hardest ones. But I don't know. I didn't really pay too much attention to the terminology. So for this stage, I start off by running through most of the stage and just continuously slicing. So if you don't care about getting certain items or whatever, I don't know if there's anything that good to get, because I didn't stop. You can just play like this and just, you don't have to spend a lot of time fighting shit, because you get healing items at the end of this section. See, I just got some health back. So there's not really much of a consequence for doing that. You can take a few hits, and you'll be all right. So this part, nothing special, but you have to dash across those spikes. This part I kind of fucked up because of the wall jump is not too consistent, so I fucked it up here. I don't think I knew the technique yet of jumping up the same wall. I had not really done that. Usually, like when I did wall jumps up to this point, I would use 2 walls to wall jump between, like this. But later on, I learned how to wall jump against the same wall, which is a lot harder to do. And I had to do that to bypass this shitty area where you can go through the ceiling. You can glitch through the ceiling and bypass this shitty section. I saw it in a video. I saw it in several playthrough videos. I guess a lot of people didn't want to do that section. Some playthroughs were using invincibility cheats or some other bullshit too. I noticed. That's why I put legit playthrough in my playthrough of the game. Because all my playthroughs are legit. I don't use cheats. There's a 1-up down here. But yeah, once you learn how to wall jump against a single wall, you'll be able to bypass that area. So I'll try to explain how I did that. I played this area pretty sloppy, so I don't have any really good advice how to play it well. But I mean, obviously, if you knew where shit was spawning and what was coming up, you'd be able to kill things a lot more efficiently. But it was good enough. For that skull, it's probably easier just to dash through it. Like that. Those blue skulls are some of the most irritating enemies in the game, because they're usually set up to knock you into pits and shit later on. And, the way it works is when you see a blue skull spawn, there's about a second or a second and a half before it rushes at you like at a bullet speed. So what you do is you you take a mental note of when they spawn on screen, and then you just wait. You just wait a moment, and once you have the timing down, you slice. And if you time it right, you'll slice just as they're shooting at you. I got used to doing that much later, but this boss is really easy. You just jump and shoot at his head. I think you have to do a running sequence first. If you see orange spiked balls that are broken, you can actually slice them and get items out of them, so keep that in mind. But as long as you keep slashing, try to kill the enemies as soon as they appear on screen so they can't pull any bullshit. It's never good to have a lot of enemies moving around. And, based on how many spike balls in a row, you may have to do longer jumps. But yeah, I mean, this really wasn't anything challenging from what I remember. I mean, definitely not compared to, like I said, the later game. I think I do end up using my healing magic because my health is pretty low. I use it on the boss, I think. But yeah, you can slice these. Okay, yeah, I got some health back out of these breakable fucking things. So they give you a chance to get some health back before the boss, but it may be random what pickups you get in those things. So for this, all you got to do, I switched to my healing item, but all you have to do is fire at the top, the enemy at the top. That's it. And I took a lot of hits and I just healed and got through it. I was taking damage switching to my healing item too because I fucked it up, but it doesn't matter too much. It's pretty fucking simple. If you just jump, you double jump and just fire at the top. Just throw out a few shurikens. It's really not hard. You don't have to play it that well. You have a decent amount of health. Now I beat most of the game with no upgraded health or almost no upgrades on my health bar, but you can upgrade your health bar by finding certain pickups in the stages. But the problem is if you die, you lose your health upgrades. So you got to do it. If you want to keep all your health upgrades, you got to do a deathless run of the entire game. So for the most part, when I played it, I just had the default 5 pieces of health most of the time. So I mean, everything is beatable with that. You just have to learn the game. So this part can be a little tricky. Not this specific part, but this section can be a little tricky because there's a lot of enemies in this city area, and they can spawn on top of you a lot. Here I am running through a good chunk of the stage again, but I'm not sure how long I did that for. You can climb up that single wall, but I don't think you have to. You can pass through the bottom here. I didn't really know how to do those wall jumps. Like I said, climbing up a single wall, I wasn't really able to do that, I don't think, at this stage of the game. But I did learn it on Act 4, which is the next act. Or the next stage. It's called Stage 4. But yeah, you just dash between those spikes. Pretty simple. There's going to be a lot of those kind of dashes you have to do later in the game. Between spikes and stuff like that. Some parts you can just kind of run through and keep slashing, and it's not too bad. Up to this point in the game, you may have not noticed the jump glitch, because just the way the stages are designed, you may not be put in situations that cause the jump glitch. But on Act 4, it was like really fucking bad. Stage 4, it was really fucking bad. To where like I had to play certain sections completely differently, not use the dash, because the dash would trigger it when you land a certain way. I don't know if I heard it was a collision issue with the programming, but if you land a certain way, it just seems to shut right. It happens a lot where your jump button just stops working. So just hit this switch to. There's going to be parts of the game where you got to hit certain switches and stuff. to proceed. There's a lot of that in some of the later stages. There's also other weird glitchy shit, like there's these invisible spikes that are chasing you. They become invisible at points, and they'll just push you and kill you. So there's definitely some bullshit. You can instantly die sometimes if you get to the top of the stage, the fourth stage, like the 4-1, stage 4-1. You climb to the top and you can just instantly die because you went up there too fast, and it doesn't make any sense. I mean, there's no spikes up there or anything, so you just die. It's just bullshit, you know. There's a lot of shit like that in the game, but the most egregious is the jumping glitch. That's a real fucking buzzkill. And I mean, like I said, that was one of the main things that made me not want to play the game for a long fucking time. If you want to clear out this area, you can and try to get the items, but I think it was a waste of my time because I don't even think I got any healing items, which is probably what I wanted. So I think I should have just probably ran through here after watching the video. I feel like this is a waste of time. And if you have full health a lot of times, sometimes, you know, it could be better just to skip some of the items. I mean, you can get some magic back and stuff, but it takes a long time to fill up that magic bar, you know. But I almost got myself killed trying to collect all this bullshit, which is pretty useless. You can go back here and try to get some of these items if you jump backward. Again, I didn't get anything useful, so it's kind of a waste. I probably should have just rode the... So you get some health back here. This is the boss. This boss is really easy, too. He actually exposes himself. And you're able to just, like, slash the shit out of him and finish him off at some point, like maybe halfway through the fight. So it makes it pretty damn easy. So we're going to do another spike jumping sequence. And, I mean, from what I saw, it didn't look much harder than the first sequence of this shit. It looked like the same shit. I mean, this doesn't really look difficult, you know, because you can get some health back. Skulls can always be irritating because they move at weird rhythms sometimes. But I mean, if you're paying attention to when they spawn, they'll always rush it at you, you know, in the same amount of time. As long as you're within their proximity. You have to be within the range in which they strike you. It's about mid-range, but as long as you're like within their range, they're always going to wait the same amount of time before they dart out at you. So you can get into a rhythm with that, which I did later on in the game, but because I really had to learn the fourth and fifth stages, so I had to get good at all the different enemies. So yeah, this guy's not difficult. You can break those orange spiked balls again, but you know the main thing is just keep shooting shurikens at him, and eventually he's just gonna like stay at the bottom of the screen, and you can just slash the shit out of him. There is a similar thing you can do on the first form of the final boss, which I'll detail when we get to that part. But see, he's just down there, so all you got to do is just do your running slash. It's like they give you a free kill. It seems like they made the bosses intentionally easy on this stage, but because the stage can be kind of tough. But next up will be the hardest final two stages. So this is where the difficulty really spikes up. And as I said, this is where I ended up quitting for a few years. And it was during this first act here of stage 4. because with the jumping was glitching out on me, I believe, causing me to die a lot, which is really fucking irritating. But this part, really, it's only a few minutes long, but you really have to memorize where to do your jumps, where all the enemies are going to spawn, pretty much. You really have to have this part memorized. A lot of times, I'm going to do the double jump to kill the enemies that are standing on the platform, the double jump sword slash. But I had this down to where I wasn't, this whole final, the whole stage 4, both levels within stage 4, I had down by this point. But it took a while to learn all this shit. You can, of course, slice the shurikens out of the air too, or you can fire them at the enemies and take some of the enemies out. But as long as you can avoid their attacks, you don't need to kill them. But you're going to have to do a lot of double jumps into wall jumps and things like that. And you have to do your double jumps precisely to where you do them at the maximum height, so that you can get over onto some of these platforms. Otherwise, you're just going to die a lot. Like that, you see, you got to be pretty much at the maximum height. So it's pretty precise. There's also a part where you see me dashing from the left of the screen to the right and from the right to the left across the full screen. That part can be tricky. You want to make sure you kill the enemies before you do the dash, and that the platform is available on the other side. So that takes some practice. I saved myself on the bottom of the screen here, but it was see, that was close. I almost died on this attempt. I like to wait for the rock I'm standing on to scroll near the bottom of the screen, so I have the most time to react and anticipate everything. But it's still a little dangerous, because if you mess up, you'll die instantly. But I had it down well enough. So now leave this middle box for now, because that has a healing item in it. If you don't need it, then save it for the boss fight. I usually end up getting it by accident, but it doesn't hurt to just leave it there until you need it. So for this first part, you're just going to jump and fire your stars at him, and just stay away from that green blob he fires. Now just stay like in the middle of it, and you won't get hit. You can just jump and fire at him. You're either going to double jump or duck when he rushes across the screen, depending on if he's high or low. After you do this for a little while, now he's going to change his pattern. After this, he's gonna do a diagonal stab. So be ready to jump that and then jump again to avoid when it retracts. And then for this part, this is the worst part of the fight because it's easy to get knocked in the hole. But you just want to kind of stand still and just wait to react. If you move around too much, it makes it hard to react. But if you stand still, wait for him to stop, and then react really quickly by moving away and jumping and attacking. But this part can be tricky. As you see, I just got hit. It's pretty tricky. It takes a little practice. It looks easy, but if you don't react, correctly, you get fucked. You can also hit him when he's on the other side of the screen if you don't have shurikens, by jumping out to the right and then back to the left like I did there. But I only do that usually at the end to finish him off. It's a little risky. So that was a difficult level, that took some practice. But this is way harder, and it's way fucking longer too. It's like probably another 16 minutes or something. So it's probably about 4 or 5 times the length of that first part. So. It's going to be a lot of memorization of where to go and what to kill is my best, my best recommendation for the stage overall is just practicing and memorizing, dying a lot. But like I said, always be mindful of the route and how to improve the route. I mean, that's the key to these games is, really keeping in mind, what's working and what's not. You can just stand here and react to all those enemies, take them out. So here we're going to have to dash through some spikes, but you can get some boxes here. I think you get some healing back, so that's good. So that one you got to dash at just the right, when you're centered just right with it, and you can get through that. So if you get through this wall fast enough, you'll get some items. I think there might have been a 1-up in there. I think that's the first 1-up that you can get in the stage. Now, if not, if you do miss that, because the ground falls fast, if you miss it, you can wall jump back up there and still get it if you're good enough with the wall jumps. We're going to see a skip soon. That's kind of hard to do, but I'm going to skip a section. I found it easier to skip it than to actually do it. I did beat that section twice, but I would take a lot of damage, and I wasn't beating it consistently. It was a very pain-in-the-ass section. Because of the pretty shitty wall jump controls, didn't really help with that, but I'm going to show how to skip it. So just inch forward and then move back. Because I think enemies are going to drop down. Actually, for this part, you can jump her attacks and just let her go to the other side. You're probably going to take a hit, but it's easier than fighting the serpent. You get a 1-up here, and you get some health back anyway, so it's alright to take a hit, most likely. That's what I always do. So if you run at the right time, you'll be able to run across all those spikes. Now keep running and slashing. It's really the only way to do this part. So here, yeah, there's another breakable wall with a 1-up, so get that. I think I show where all the 1-ups are on this stage 4 as well. So run across here, slash all these guys. The dogs are kind of a pain in the ass because you can't hit them with a standing slash until they jump at you. So sometimes they can get to you if you're not doing the right type of slash. And if you low slash, they can like jump into you or jump over you. So they're a little bit of a pain. But running and slashing always works on them. So take these guys out, each one at a time, and then you can just move on to the next platform. Nothing too hard. Kill this guy. But the stages are... okay, yeah, here's the part we got to skip. So this is how I skipped this section. This is a glitch. So wall jump against the wall, but then you dash back to the left to go back to the same wall. And then you want to be mashing the shit out of the jump button so you latch onto the wall immediately. And just keep doing that, but every time you're trying to latch onto the wall, make sure you mash the jump button extremely quickly. And if you do that, you'll catch on more often than not, and it makes it a lot easier to land your wall jumps. That's my best tip for that. It's kind of hard to pull off, but it's doable. It didn't take me too long to learn how to do it. I didn't read any instructions on how to do it, but I saw videos of people doing it, and then I just practiced it. And it didn't take me too long to get, but I didn't get it initially. I wasn't using it initially because it was kind of hard to do. So press down and jump to drop through these platforms. You got to do that quickly. Don't worry about getting the items. And then for this part with this serpent, I start off by just focusing on taking out that serpent woman again by throwing stars at her and then slashing at her. But I tank some damage. But I'm not too worried about it because I'm focused on killing her, and then I'll clean up the rest of the enemies. Because she's hard to deal with all the other enemies. So now this is where the jump glitch is a huge problem, where the jump keeps shutting off. So how I bypass the problem is I don't use my dashes at all here. Initially I was using mid-air dashes, but I stopped using it. So I'm going to take some damage because of that, because I played it kind of shitty. It's really not a hard part, but I didn't play it too well. But I had to do it without using my dashes. So I recommend not using dashes here at all, because it will most likely shut off your jump button. And then you'll have to dash again to reset it, or you'll have to take damage. So I would recommend not using dashes at all for this section. But it's pretty easy. It's not difficult. It's just, it was a pain in the ass because I was trying to play the game fucking normally, and then, the jump button just stops working. I didn't really know what the fuck was going on initially, but... Well, I may have known about the jump glitch by then, but it wasn't happening that fucking often until I got to that part. So... to bypass that, just don't use dash. So these are actually all really easy. It's just there's a specific pattern to each one, and I kind of forgot it initially, but this is it. You just jump over the low one when it moves towards you. Now you just walk under these. Pretty simple. Like I said, I was gonna say, this stage is really, not all the sections are really difficult, but it's just a lot of sections you need to learn and memorize. Is what it is. It's kind of an endurance There's a lot to memorize, but it's not. They're not all like super difficult when you have strategies for them. It's just you got to know what to do. Now I shouldn't have got hit on that last one. It was sloppy. I should have just jumped it, but I didn't have this spike part down that well because this was near the end of the stage, so I didn't have some of these later parts, as tightly mastered. But I think I didn't die on this whole entire stage 4 until like maybe the elevator section. I died once, I think, but you get a 1-up anyway there. And then I died like maybe 6 times on the actual boss. But I mean, on the stage itself, it was pretty clean. So a big tip here is you see those 2 pillars that are moving across the screen. Below those 2 pillars is a platform you stand on. So when you can't see the platform, look at where the pillars are, and that indicates where the ground is going to be. That's kind of important because if you don't know. There's parts where you make blind jumps like that. I mean, obviously that's an obvious one, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes you can't really see where the bottom of the ground is. But if you don't know where it is, just look at the 2 pillars. Initially, I didn't put that together. I mean, I know it's kind of simple, but there were times when I first got here, I didn't really know where to jump. At times, I was taking blind jumps, and I fell in the holes before. So just keep that in mind. But now at this part, that stops. Now you can just play normally. But you do have to keep track of where the ground is. Otherwise, if you don't really understand how that works, I mean, it's simple, but like a lot of parts, if you don't know what's going on, it makes it a lot harder. But this part's really not too hard. Those guys are annoying, dropping from the sky in some areas. They can be really irritating in the final stage. There's a lot of them, but they a lot of times show up at times you don't expect, and you take damage. So you gotta be careful. So this is the final section of the game. This is the elevator, and it can be kind of tricky. But one good thing is there's a 1-up you can get every time. So get this 1-up. You see, I got it real fast on that right barrel. Yeah, get that shit. As long as you get that, you can die on this as many times as you want. But just make sure you get that every time, and you'll be good. You'll be able to practice this as much as you need to. That's what I did. But of course the boss got me killed, and I had to redo this whole stage a bunch of times because the boss, well, it's not especially difficult. It's hard when you have to redo the entire stage if you fail on the boss. You got to do all this shit over again. So that's what makes it hard. For these guys, the main idea is you can dash at them and slash them 5 times and just kill them outright. But sometimes you're going to get interrupted when there's 2 of them on either side, which happens a few times in the game. So just be ready for them to throw out a wave that you can jump over. And remember, the wave that they shoot out also comes back, so be ready to jump it twice. As long as you know those patterns, you can kind of put it together and not take any damage. I may show the death that I had on here. I had 1 death on the elevator. I don't know if I edited it out. Well, I believe I had 1 death. I had at least 1 death. I think it was only 1 death. I think that was the only time I died on this attempt. So for this part, start slashing at the first serpent immediately. Be ready to jump her fireball, and then when she's ready to rush, jump over her rush as well. You'll know because she's going to coil and go into a coil and start flashing. So just be ready for her to charge when she does that. And then you can kill both of these very easily without getting hit. As long as you know their patterns, it's really not too difficult. Those guys that shoot the diagonal arrows down can be annoying, so be ready to slash their arrow or just move fast to the right of the screen where they can't hit you. Because since they fire diagonally down, they can't hit you if you're all the way to the right wall. So here I got killed here, but I think now I will do it successfully. But yeah, just get this 1-up here. You can just keep getting this 1-up, like I said. Sometimes I get stuck in the animation. It's just part of the control. Like, you'll do a slash and it seems like you stand there a little bit too long and can't turn back and slash in the other direction. Because the animation, I feel like it's a little bit too long, but it does happen to me a lot. There are definitely some things that I'd polish and tighten up about this game that would make it a lot better, but overall the control is actually really good. It's just not when it glitches out. If they fix the glitch, it'd be quite good. And the wall jumps could be tightened up. I think the wall jumps would be better if they worked more than half of the time. You shouldn't have to mash the jumping button rapidly at a really fast speed to grab onto the wall when doing the wall jump. You know, I don't really like that too much. So there's definitely some things that I think could have used some more time polish. I think there's some items in that wall that's flashing over there, that glistening wall, which usually indicates you can break the wall, but a lot of times it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I mean, well, it's not worth it on the elevator. It's not worth really breaking the walls because you get stuck inside the wall as the platform moves up, and you just instantly die. So you can try getting that shit if you want. But yeah, there's a very specific pattern for these two serpents. Like I said, if you play carefully, it's not hard. Just got to jump the attacks, and I think it takes about 5 slashes. You can use your shurikens too if you want. I got sloppy there because I was being greedy, so I got hit. But you don't have to play quickly like that. You know, you can take your time. Be ready for the guys that drop down from the sky. I'm playing pretty sloppy here, but I think it was good enough to beat this time. And I would say this stage is probably the most difficult of the stages, I would say. Though I would say the final stage has much more aggressive enemy spawns, which can make it, you know, pretty tough. But for me, the biggest challenge of the last stage was that I had to keep redoing it because of the final boss. Final bosses are tough without a lot of time to practice them. So this is somewhat of a safe spot here, as you'll see. And there's a few specific times when I do move, but I kind of stay right here and slash at them. And you get a lot of damage in, and you may get hit like once or twice, but it's fairly safe where you don't have to like try to dodge every little thing he spits out. And just be ready when he swipes his claws left and then right. He does a big tell when he's going to do it, so you can see when he's going to do it. Just be ready to move. You can fire out some shurikens from a distance and dodge some of the fireballs at least. And then you can start hitting him again in that somewhat safe spot thing again, you know. But I got lucky as well in this fight, but that's generally what I do. But I died like 6 times on this attempt, and I died many more times on other failed attempts at the entire stage. So, this, you know, if you beat this stage, that's good. You're on your way to beating the game, but just expect a hard final stage and you know, the final boss to be like a pain in the ass. But it's that, I mean, if you can beat this stage, then you can definitely complete the game skill-wise. The jumping glitch I didn't find to be too prevalent in the final stage, so it didn't happen to me too much on this stage. But if you play a little bit differently, maybe it will happen a lot to you. I don't know, but I didn't have a big problem with it on this stage. So for this part, it looks like I'm running straight through, but I do pause a little bit to take out some of the spawns. I had this stage down very well because of all the times I died. But there's definitely a specific order to do everything. To get on this platform safely, you want to wait till, I believe it's the second up from the bottom thing to fire. And then that's when you jump and you can get on the platform, and then you got to kind of duck to dodge the other ones. It's tricky. There is like a safe way to do it, a safe timing. So look at how I did it. Be wary of the spawns up above you. Make sure you lure them out and take them out. And then for this part, wait for this a little bit, then jump, and you can get up on top of it. You want to wait a little bit once it's retracted into the wall. And, you know, lure these guys out, take them out. You can take your time on this stage. No need to run through everything. Just keep running here. This part you have to run, but just drop down and run immediately. You can kill those guys by letting them drop down behind you, or you can jump and slash them. Nothing too difficult here. But it gets a lot denser and aggressive when enemy spawns, as you'll see. So that's the main thing here. But the platforming, there's not really any really challenging platforming or anything. It's mostly just enemy spawning stuff. So getting the spawns down and killing certain spawns is the biggest thing. There are some platforming parts you got to run and jump, but they're really not. I didn't think they were too difficult. So here I made the mistake of crouching in that area right below that asshole. But if you know your spawns well enough, you can take out these guys, and you can do it much slower and lure out the guys individually. I was trying to play kind of fast, and I got kind of sloppy here, but It didn't matter too much because I don't even know if I died on this stage or maybe I died once. So for both, including both, both acts within this stage. Because I got to the final boss, I think, with as many lives as I could, like 8 lives. Maybe 7, because I think I missed the 1-up. I think I might have missed the 1-up pickup, but I'll explain where it is. So here I'm trying to climb back up the wall because I fucked that up. But there is some good item here. There's something that recharges your magic completely. So, get that. Now with this guy, I dash to the left guy immediately and strike him 5 times, and then I'm ready to jump the wave immediately and repeat the same on the right guy. So, like I said, you don't have to get hit on those guys. So here you just run and slash. I usually take the hit from the spikes here. I don't really care too much. Because I know I'm going to get healing items at certain points, so I kind of have the route planned, so I'm not too worried about it. For the snake woman, I running slash her, and that usually takes her out pretty fast on this part. Just keep running as you hit the switch, and you'll go right under all those spikes. There's a 1-up right here, so we got our first 1-up of the stage. It's pretty much in plain sight, so that's good. So for this part, there's a timing to the spikes. Get in it when there's no spikes, and then just jump and double jump, and you'll probably make the timing. Just wait like a split second, then jump and double jump. That's pretty much what I did. You wait, just wait like very short amount of time, and then jump and double jump, and you shouldn't take any damage on them. If you try to dash across, you won't make it unless you're farther into that part, because you can't dash far enough to get across all of them. That's what I used to try to do, but it doesn't work. So keep dropping down. This part's not too difficult. This is near the end of this stage now at this point. So I played that sloppily, but good enough. So for this, you want to time when you do your wall jumps so that they're not shooting at you while you're doing it like that. Very sloppy, but I was playing a little bit more reckless. Be ready for enemies to spawn behind you and shit like that. You do get some healing items here, though. You can take those guys out with shurikens. Most of them I take out by slashing through the wall. Make sure you're on the correct platforms and you jump at the correct times based on what I'm doing here. That's what I felt. But this was shitty. I fucked that up. But unfortunately, I didn't edit it. I didn't edit in sections where I played better, so I can't show that well executed in this playthrough. I just show, what ended up being successful at this particular run. But, I had better playthroughs of a lot of these sections where I didn't take damage. But I didn't do any splicing or anything, so I just left it. So for these guys, let them drop down. You want to lure them to drop down and then, crawl forward a little bit, and they're going to drop down, and then you can slash them. So I ended up using my healing here. Now leave this healing item and just fire shurikens at her, then fire them again on the other side. You'll get hit once, but you'll get the healing, so you get all your health back. I find that's the easiest way to just, kind of tank that and get the health back. Take out this asshole up here. And there's going to be a lot of enemy spawns here, so if you want, you can insta-screen and play it slow and take everything out. If you want to play it carefully. Which I wasn't really doing, but there's a lot of guys that drop down. So run forward and slash here, take that guy out. And now we're going to dash across. And you can dash right through that gap. Take these guys out. You get some health back too, so you don't have to play it perfectly. That's just points. I didn't even bother with that shit. So I like to get back a little bit and dash from the back, but I kind of fucked it up. So this part can be a little tricky. What I do is just stay here and fire shurikens at him. It makes it easier. So just dodge his attacks from back here after you take out that one orange ninja. It's a lot easier if you do it this way, because if you try to charge him and slash him, you get stuck on that spiked ball easily. You don't have a lot of space to do that. So now run across here. Don't do that. You see how I hit that? I hit those stairs and brought the stairs down. I paused here for a minute because I was kind of pissed off because I missed the 1-up. But what you want to do is just keep running to the right and hit that wall, that right wall where that guy was, and you'll get the 1-up. You got to break that wall. So don't do what I did. Don't go back, break the wall, and then go back and hit the lever. Don't hit the lever immediately. But I forgot about it. So that's the only one-up I missed, I think, in this whole stage. Normally I would get that. So this part controls like absolute shit. If you move either left or right even slightly, your minecart keeps like sliding all the way to the left or right. It's really slippery control. So what I do is I pretty much stay in one position in the middle of the screen, and I try to minimize any left or right movement. I'll do it a little bit. But as I'm doing it, I'm holding in the opposite direction so I can brake pretty much and go back pretty fast. But it's still shitty. So I try to keep it simple by mostly just staying in the middle of the screen and barely moving. And if you're holding right when you get to the boss, the cinematic scene where the boss appears will begin, and you'll get stuck moving right, and you'll get stuck on the boss and take a hit immediately. So that's shitty too, but just be aware of that. But you can beat this part by mainly staying in one spot. You have to press right a little bit to make some of those jumps. Again, when you're jumping across like multiple spiked balls, especially, so you may want to do that. But aside from that, you can also play aggressively with the shurikens so that if enemies appear on either the left or right, they get hit by shooting at a lot of shurikens. But at this point, I didn't really need to do that. I did do that when I didn't know the stage as well. And I do it a little bit, but I wasn't like spamming them like I did in the past when I didn't know the stage. It's good to keep a lot of your shurikens because they make this boss a lot easier, but the boss is very easy. So at least this first boss is easy. So if you jump and slash at the same time, you'll get the item in the lantern, whatever happens to be in these lanterns. And I got a healing item, so that was good. You don't always get healing though, but not that I really needed it for this. But start firing your shurikens immediately, and you're going to get a lot of damage initially. And then wait for these balls to get as big as they're going to get, and then they'll fire. So then be ready to jump them. But I fucked it up there. I played it kind of sloppy, but it's not hard. I was tanking some of the hits too to get some extra damage, but you don't have to do that. You can play it a lot more carefully if you want. I think I get some health back in the beginning of the next stage. Your health doesn't regenerate between stages, but I mean, unless it's like a full stage or something, but the smaller stages. But I think there's healing items in the beginning of the next stage anyway, so I was playing it a little sloppy to get some extra damage in. If you don't have any shurikens, you can just stab the boss, slash him. And you just got to get your ranges down to where you can safely do it. So it can take a little practice. I mean, if you're just doing it with just the sword, but it's still really easy. You also get checkpoints at the bosses. I believe, well, actually, for this guy, I'm not sure if they give you a checkpoint at the boss for this guy. You might have to redo that cart sequence, but I don't remember. So we're going to be moving really fast soon, so you want to keep running, because if you stop for too long, you'll get crushed by the spiked wall. So for this long section, you want to keep moving and running, slashing, and doing what you need to do to get across those gaps. Sometimes you got to jump pretty far in and then do your dash. You got to like double jump like across and then dash on the third thing that you do. So for these, you can just walk and jump them, and then this one you can dash through. And then you want to get up here fast. Hit this lever. Jump, because there's going to be these guys shooting arrows, so you want to dodge some of those if you can. You get some health here, so you could try to stop and get that like I did. Hit the lever. Hit the higher lever. You got to jump for one of them, and just keep going. And dash through here. Throw a shuriken to hit that lever. And, whenever you see a lever, just hit it, basically. Now, hit this left wall and grab the 1-up real fast. Now, if you die here, you can get that 1-up again, so keep that in mind. So, yeah, see, I got hit because I tried to go back and get shit. So you got to be careful with that. And then that kind of fucked me up. So, but there's a 1-up there. I think I got a checkpoint where the 1-up isn't at, though. I'm not sure. Well, maybe not. I think I was able to get the 1-up again, maybe. I think it's right here. Yeah, so you can just keep getting that if you die on that part. But if you get too far into this section, you'll be at the next checkpoint, and then you won't be able to keep getting that 1-up. So just keep it in mind. There's times when the wall can be invisible. That's the spiked wall I was talking about that can be invisible sometimes and just push you. It's really glitchy, but it's not a huge deal because when you know the stage, you'll just keep moving to the right really fast and you'll avoid any problems. So this part can be tricky. This is the end of the stage. It can be tricky, but there's some ways to approach it. I'll try to break it down. Here we have to do that single wall jump. I guess that's required to beat the game. So clear out these guys, and there's going to be another wave of these two assholes, and then you're going to just jump and dash through that. But not like that. But there will be a 1-up that I can get. So that might have been where I died on the stage. I don't think this was the cleanest playthrough for me, but it was good enough. So yeah, now I'm clearing out the spawns more efficiently without taking damage, so now I'm playing it a little bit better. But yeah, basically that's how you do that part. It's really not too hard. So clear out this asshole that's throwing bombs, and then we're going to jump up there and dash into this guy and do the regular 5 slashes. Now drop down behind him and get these items and break this wall. You get a 1-up right in here, so you want that because then you can keep getting that 1-up if you keep dying on this part. And now we're just going to keep skipping, not skipping shit, but moving to the right. There's not much left on the stage now, so. But the end is kind of tough. So I like to skip a lot of these guys. I like to take this guy out first because he's throwing bombs. I got hit by him, of course, which was sloppy, but now we're just going to keep jumping and dashing up here. But, it does get kind of sloppy, but you will get some health back right before the boss. So, as long as you can survive this shit. This is the end right here, so it's really not too bad to kind of jump and dash your way through, even if you take damage. You get health back, so collect these 2 shurikens. Don't collect those 2 lamps at the top if you don't need health, because you might as well save it. Because you can save those for the second form if you want. If you can beat this first form without damage, it could be useful. So I beat this first form without damage on this playthrough, so I'll try to explain that. I edited it out because I died a bunch of times. I died like 5 or 6 times, but I'll try to explain exactly what I'm doing. Remember, he does this in the same order each time, this first form. So there's a whole routine to this. So jump immediately again. You have to double jump immediately again. Now jump up and then dash in the air, and you'll dodge that ground pound. Now you want to jump the first 2 knives that he does, and then crouch and fire shurikens. And you can get in some good damage doing that. Now run to him immediately while slashing. Get in some hits, jump back to dodge that. Double jump that, he's going to do that, and then wait for this and go under it. Now, from this point, stand right where you see me standing and keep slashing. It's a safe spot for a while. So stand here, and you're going to take out most of his health just doing this. And I did it really fast here where I took him out before he even went into his next phase. So I'm not going to be able to explain the final phase that he does, where shit comes from the ceiling, but if he does get to that phase, you go all the way to the left, jump his power wave, and then just keep slashing at him, and you may take like 1 hit, but you'll finish him off. And that's the basic idea. He does those same patterns each time, so you just got to memorize how to move, and you'll be able to do that without taking any damage. It may go into his final little phase of attacks, but you'll learn that too. So this is the hardest part because this goes on for like 10 minutes, at least for me, because I played it pretty carefully. But you're going to want to learn how to dodge all this shit, and doing so while taking out these pulsating bulbs. So again, when his sword pounds the ground, you double jump in the air, and then you dash across. The timing for that is when you see the explosion of his sword hitting the ground. That's when you double jump and then dash. And if you do it at that timing, you shouldn't take any damage. You gotta have like those mental notes of what the timings are for certain attacks, to dodge them. So that's all it is. But you're going to be seeing these sword patterns throughout the whole fight, so you're going to have to get used to dodging them, and there's different things you do for different ones. I like to play it carefully where I just jump up and attack these things, and I go off the platforms constantly and just double jump attack the balls. And the reason I'm doing that is because if you stand up on those platforms, you gotta dodge a bunch of difficult patterns while trying to fight the pulsating weak spot. So I just find it easier to retreat and just go back up and damage them. So you can do that through the whole fight. It just takes longer, but if you don't care about, if you're not trying to do a speed run, you just want to beat the game. So then for that attack, they shoot diagonally and you just jump. You do a single jump in the corner. For this, I jump left to right. It makes it easier, just alternating sides of the opposite side that it's going to shoot in. So that's that. For this, you would just double jump at the right timing, but sometimes I'll drop down because, like I said, when I see those balls come out, it's like, that's when I start playing fucking cheap and doing this shit. Because I want to conserve my health. I already have like 2 healing items in those lanterns over there, but they only give like 1 health each. But there's also 2 bigger healing items up at the top. So I'm conserving the healing items as well. I'm just trying to conserve my health. Because it can be very difficult to try to dodge everything. So you can throw your shurikens upwards as well and hit them, but only when they're lower. It won't go all the way up to the top of the screen if you're all the way on the ground. So you can't exploit that, I don't think. But you can clear out some of the like mid-range balls that are in the middle range of the screen. But eventually, it doesn't take too long. You'll clear it out. But remember, you're going to have to do this entire routine, this whole round of all this shit. You have to do this whole round like 3 times to kill the boss, so it's tedious. That's why it takes so long. So, see, it's tricky to dodge. You can double jump it at the right time, and I usually do, but it's always a risk. It's going to be tricky to dodge some of this stuff. For this, you just jump one jump and then dash across for that one pattern. But then you got to duck immediately because after you dash across, and that you dash through that gap, it's always going to be the same pattern where you got to duck immediately to dodge the next wave of spikes. It always does that. So if you keep that in mind, you'll know what to do next. These patterns do repeat a lot, so you can just learn them eventually. But I do minimize how much dodging I do. Now, if you position yourself carefully, you can hit 2 of those balls at once if you are positioned properly. I don't think I did it there. It makes it a little faster, but this is getting pretty sloppy here. But, so I did use my healing items on the bottom area of the screen, but we got the boss about halfway down. So now I'm going to do the same thing again where I lure out the little weak spots and then I just kind of jump down. Like, I try not to even fucking deal with them if I could avoid it. Because, see, there's a lot of dangerous shit going on here, so it's just easier to drop down. So I think if you play it safely, it'd make it a lot easier if you're having trouble with it. Because, of course, dying on this means that you're going to, if you lose all your lives on this, then you got to redo the entire act again. So the entire stage of stage 5, so it's a lot of shit to redo. It takes me like 18 minutes, maybe 20 minutes since I can pretty much beat this stage, without dying or maybe dying once or something like that. So, but it still takes a while. But I can get there with like 8 lives, so it at least gives me like 8 times to practice the boss, which was, eventually I got enough practice by doing that, but it took a while. So we're doing the same patterns again. It's pretty much like exactly same patterns for all 3 phases, so it is kind of drawn out. I just dropped down. I said, fuck it. But see, you got to be wary of that shit off screen. Sometimes those patterns will get you off screen. So if you do see something spawn and then you drop down, it's going to continue to fire. So if it's firing down, you're gonna get hit if you don't move. So I got a healing item and then retreated back down. There was a healing item in that lamp up there. I would have to practice this, a little bit more to be able to dodge everything without retreating and playing safely. But like I said, my goal was just to complete the game. I was glad to fucking end this one, as I was sitting in my backlog for like 4 years and I was irritated at the time, so I was just glad to go back to it and just fucking cap it off for the kill list. I thought about beating it again on Switch to add it to the Nintendo Switch kill list section, but I didn't really feel like playing it again when I booted it up, so Maybe I'll go back to it at a later date when I forget how to play the fucking game, and then I'll use this tutorial to beat the game again, because I will have forgotten everything I learned. So I often use my own tutorials to beat ports of games that I beat years ago and stuff like that. So it's a very useful tool for me in beating a high volume of games. I can use my own tutorials and shit to beat stuff, because it's in my play style, the way I play games, so it matches how I would approach it, since that's how I beat it. So it does save me a lot of time. Especially when I find exploits and shit like that to make certain things easier. Though I didn't find a ton of exploits in this game. This game's pretty well put together, Aside from skipping that spike section and a few safe spots during bosses and shit, but nothing crazy. But yeah, same pattern again. This is the last time that we have to do this pattern. But it's pretty much exactly the same, so you're just doing it 3 times. 3 rounds of this shit. And it's easy to take little hits here and there. So, the healing items you get up at the top only give you like maybe 2 health back. They're not really great. But I'm getting a little sloppy here. I could have retreated, but I was just playing a little aggressively. I may have had one more healing item left on the right side up at the top, but I don't remember. There is a way to jump. If you time your double jumps correctly, you can switch sides with those swords coming down and not get hit. Because they don't damage you until they fully appear on screen, not while they're spawning in. So that's how the timing works. Also, your dodge timing is based on that too. Like, you wait a little while and then they always shoot out at the same timing. So there's a rhythm to it and a timing. But I got the healing item on the top right as well. It's all very learnable as far as dodging everything, with enough practice. But when I could avoid shit, I just wanted to play it slow. And this game doesn't have any difficulty settings or anything either, so this is it. But I would say the game is a pretty difficult game on its own. Very learnable, though. Definitely a game that, spend enough time on it, you can definitely learn it. So now this is going to be the final, I think the final set of weak spots that you're going to have to take out, and then, of course, the head. I got hit on that one a lot this time. It was like really sloppy on this run, but luckily I had enough health. If I have 3 pieces of health, that's actually really good for me in this final phase, because this part's not that long, so I was actually in good shape. So duck. See, after I dashed across, I ducked the next wave. That's what I was talking about earlier. So yeah, that's it. You do that final win, that's it. Then you've beaten the game. So if you manage to complete it, then that's pretty good work, because it's not an easy game. It's harder than a lot of old NES games, even with the Infinite Continues, because some of the stages in this game are as long as entire NES games. So it's probably like beating it's like beating maybe 4 NES games or something like that. Depending on maybe moderate NES games, but it's not an easy game. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.